After the Afterlife team left on Monday night, something absolutely incredible happened.
We have a gentleman by the name of Neil Storey.
And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
Are these heavily religious artefacts going to have some part to play with what's in room 8?
Here at Chester's famous My Haunted Hotel, we had started to document a spike in unexplained events as the world's most documented paranormal investigation enters its 3rd year. Visitors to the location continue to report occurrences, and as is the My Haunted way, everything is caught on camera. But we must journey back to the previous week.
After the Afterlife team left on Monday night, something absolutely incredible happened right here in the function room, and in my opinion this is right up there with one of those huge highlight moments that has happened here over the last couple of years. It was captured on a thermal imaging camera. Take a look at this. Now, we have done everything we can to debunk this. We have checked all of the other cameras covering this area. Not only was the building completely empty at the time, but this to me looks like 2 children running across this area behind me. And our cameras prove that there is nobody here, that there is nobody in the building. And after such an active investigation, you really have to ask the question now, are we about to hit one of those periods of these famous waves of activity that make this building so famous?
Okay, we are trying to replicate the strange footage captured in the early hours of the morning after the Afterlife guys left. We've got Harry and Brett on camera now, I can see them. All right guys, cross over! Yeah, you can see straight away here on the camera that it is just absolutely nothing like what we've captured. They're in red. You know, it is a thermal imaging. You can quite clearly see it's in red, and on the normal one you can quite clearly see it's 2 people walking.
Tonight we have a very special guest in, Mr. Neil Storey. I have only good things to say about this gentleman. I've worked with him at a paranormal convention last year. I had the pleasure of having one too many to drink with him as well, and he is a great guy, but he specializes in these certain techniques, very old school paranormal techniques that here at the hotel we're not big believers in at all.
We have a gentleman by the name of Neil Storey. He is a historian that specializes in the paranormal, but not just any paranormal. He uses really old Victorian style techniques. Now, we are not big believers in this at the hotel, but can he really conjure up something using these old techniques?
Before our latest investigation gets underway, there were a number of moments that we needed to review, but in particular, we needed to highlight something very important.
I need to show you this. This happened on Saturday night, and it's the first instance I have ever seen of someone very blatantly faking something. And it's quite fascinating. Have a look.
Gotta be somebody there, isn't it? Standing.
I keep thinking there's something at that window.
Oh, well, it has been seen.
Oh! What was that? What the f*** was that? Have you just done something, Sean?
He didn't move.
This guy just throws a car behind his back.
It's infuriating.
Now, in fairness, I watched it back and went, because they all radioed saying, oh my god, this has happened, it's thrown itself across room 6, and I went, oh my god, this is amazing, this is as good as the glass that embedded itself in the wall there years ago, I can't wait to watch it. Oh, he's thrown it behind his back. And at that point I expected him to go, got your schedule. And no, I radioed through saying, does anyone own up? And he kind of went, who are you talking about? What are you talking about? And at that point, it's we are running a legitimate investigation here. It actually says in our terms of services, terms and conditions that if you are caught faking anything, you will be removed without refund. It does say that. We have cameras everywhere.
It's not just that, it's spoiling everyone else's night who are coming here with a love for the paranormal and some, I'm not going to say it, but he does things like that.
I think, look, what we do here is based on a very real paranormal investigation. We're very serious about our jobs, and people who come here and do this kind of thing, you are caught on camera and we will actually call it out.
The building just produces these moments of unquestionable noises that you just don't know where they come from or why, what makes it happen. It's such a loud sort of thud. It's strange. Damn, the sex noise. We've got to address it in the cellar. You explain to me what else it is other than a sex noise.
What the is that? I don't know. What the is that?
Yeah, we checked the outside cameras, clear as anything, no one about, no audio outside. I mean, this building was believed to be a brothel at one point.
In all seriousness, there was a brothel in the building, so have we picked up a residual sex noise? Something we really need to address is something that got caught on the live cameras to start off with, but we're now starting to capture it on our building cameras too.
Yeah, so this was shown on the last episode, and this was actually reported by our VHX subscribers live.
Yeah.
Now we've discovered this on our in-house cameras. What is this emanating from room 8? It's an almost animal noise.
What is it? Where is it coming from?
Another experiment was about to be conducted at My Haunted Hotel as we welcome Neil and Dave. The techniques that would be used in this investigation were not ones that we use at all here at the My Haunted project, but we were eager to see if they would have an effect on this 400-year-old building.
Hello, my name is Neil Storey, and I guess it would say on my passport that I'm a social historian, but I've always had an interest in the paranormal. I conducted my first ghost hunt in 1988 when I was still at college, and I've never lost that fascination. Well, Danny, we met at Festival of the Unexplained. What an event that was. So we've had a little bit of a ghost hunt together. We've yarned way into the small hours about ghosts and the paranormal and the strange. And you said, you've got to come to My Haunted Hotel. So here I am. Now, I've seen your show and I like the show, but I thought, well, what can I bring that's different? Well, as a historian, I've got an interest in the history of the paranormal. One object that's particularly strange, I thought I'd like to share with you and the audience for the very first time. I bought it for the very first Festival of the Unexplained that I attended. And I needed something to dress my table up. I was selling books and one or two bits of haunted memorabilia. And I thought, let's have a look on eBay. And there was what they call a travelling communion set. Now, these were used by Roman Catholic priests when they visited sick people at home. And they have nice silver patterns, they have a crucifix, they have candles, cloths, and holy water bottle. They're quite special. The family said, you know, we've had this for ages. It belonged to one of their uncles, who was a Roman Catholic priest. And they said, they asked me what I wanted it for. I told them about the festival. They said, well, you couldn't have a better thing, because this communion set was last used in an exorcism in the 1930s.
Hi, my name's Dave. I'm a paranormal investigator. I've been fortunate to be invited down by Neil tonight at My Haunted Hotel in Chester. We've come here tonight to try a different method. We've come here with old school techniques, leave the modern stuff behind, hopefully. I've brought an original William Fold Ouija board down with us, as well as a writing planchet. It's quite an old writing planchet. and hopefully we get some fingers on it and get the energy going. Hopefully we get something and get some response to it.
We begin our investigation with an opening ceremony that Neil believes will potentially open the door for communication.
So we're just about to start this crazy investigation and I'm so excited. Now, I'm looking for answers. I want to be able to communicate with the other side if that is the case. This might be a route to be able to do that.
Neil begins by using protection techniques such as holy water before officially opening the session.
So hopefully all that surrounds us now is peace, is safety, and we're in the hands of God, Jesus Christ. I'll add that I'm not an exorcist, I'm a committed Christian, and this is purely to make sure we're all safe as we try and reach out to maybe the priest that used this communion set for the last time in the 1930s. It was last used in an exorcism that nearly killed that priest, so we need to make sure that we're safe and we need to make sure that he is resting. Something could come forward and nothing, but above all we come in peace and we come in safety and we come in respect. These candles have not been lit for decades, since that night all those years ago in the 1930s. Let's see.
As we sat and waited patiently, the opening ceremony did not trigger any paranormal activity, fascinating nonetheless. We then begin the investigation as Neil, Dave and Harry head to room 2, with Dan and Gibbsy taking a more modern approach to room 6.
This is where the experiment really begins. We have two very different types of experiments going on right now. We have Harry upstairs in room 2 with a Ouija board with Dave and Neil. And we actually have Dan and Gibbsy in room 6. They have little bits of equipment, a little bit more of a high-tech approach to an investigation. We're going to start both of these at exactly the same time and just see how both work out.
There's going to be techniques on display tonight that we have debunked time and time again. Ouija boards. We released an entire episode on VHX where we planted a false narrative and watched as two paranormal investigators moved the planchette to this fake name. A name that has recently come through is by far one of the most intelligent entities I've ever come across. Is a John Abbott. I believe the second name is Abbott. So that's interesting that's come through recently.
We made John Abbott up 20 minutes ago. Made up name. We've dropped it in a convincing way that we want to see whether or not that triggers something that could be proof of Ouija boards being a suggestive trick.
Now, for anyone who thinks there is even a hint of a chance that what is happening here is paranormal and the Ouija board is actually working, then watch very closely as we are about to completely debunk what is happening here in record time.
Are you trying to get the J? Do you want to make it a bit clearer on the letter? Right, a J. Is that your initial? Is that your first name's initial?
This is JA. This is what he's saying. John Abbott.
Oh, yeah. Is that correct? Is this John Abbott we're talking to?
Pulls all down my legs.
We are zoomed in, super zoomed in on this, and a little friend of ours called John Abbott has come to the table. But he didn't. Something that we see all the time in Ouija boards is a J came up and then an A came up, which actually, well, that's not how you spell John. And then Sam says, "Is this John Abbott?" Yes.
It was calm and it's clear. When we come in peace, we mean no harm. What we have here is a Bible, the word of the Lord. We have our keys on ribbons that can be our way of telling yes or no. So if there is spirit or force that wishes to communicate, you can cross
The key to the left for yes, or to the right for no.
We're aware of a lady Heidi that resides within this room. A young boy called Billy.
So we come in respect and we ask, are there any spirits present? Are we going to the left? Is it moving a little bit?
Yeah.
Is the spirit a man? It's a woman. Thank you for making yourself known. Did you work here? Does that look like a yes? Were you a servant here? Were you a barmaid? No.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Are you a child?
I think so. It's very gentle, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little girl.
Neil has just been demonstrating a pendulum session using an old key. He's now swapped with Harry. Now, Brett's just made a very good point that this stuff only really works if you believe in it. We don't believe in it, but it's just going to be interesting now to see Harry as a neutral taking part in this and to see if anything actually happens. The way I'm looking at this is, with all the candles and these old artefacts, is it going to trigger something in the building? The way that Neil is looking at it is that these techniques are genuinely going to bring through spirit communication.
It'll be interesting to see, because I know Harry is very much wanting to believe in techniques like this. So it'll be really interesting to see how this session now goes down and whether they get the same results that Neil has just been getting.
Could I ask, does the little girl in here, does your name begin with T?
I think that's a no.
Mm-hmm. Does your name begin with C?
Ooh. Be brave. It's alright.
Or maybe S?
Oh, okay.
Oh.
This is where it gets really interesting with the pendulum. Harry has taken over and he's been really clever with it. He asked this little girl that has previously been known, whether it's a C or a T that her name begins with. We know of a Sarah that is here, and Harry obviously knows of a Sarah. He asked, did the name begin with an S? And immediately we saw significant movement of the key. Now, does this happen because obviously it is being manipulated subconsciously by Harry, who knows that Sarah begins with S? Or is there quite literally a being moving a key in the room that we cannot see?
Do you want to call her by name?
Is the little girl in question called Sarah?
Oh, no, it's not. Oh, wow.
Now, for everyone who has followed the My Haunted Hotel journey, you will know that the only young female entity documented here is a girl called Sarah. We have never gained any evidence to suggest another female child is potentially present, which would lead us to believe this experiment has not produced compelling results.
Okay, Dan and Gibbsy have now joined us from room 6. Your session was obviously very quiet. Right now, Neil, Dave and Harry have started this Ouija board session, and immediately the Ouija board starts moving. I just cannot get on board with this at all. I don't believe an ounce of it. We have debunked Ouija boards time and time again, and no one will ever convince me that they are real.
Yeah, I guess so. So far it doesn't appear to have anything intelligent coming through. These things were debunked by the likes of Houdini 100 years ago. They were used in fraudulent methods. They were also used as a board game for children. You don't sell ghost equipment to children. You do sell, however, a psychologically created board game that creates some sort of message from somewhere else. I do wonder sometimes why these still so oftenly get used.
Are we communicating still with a child? Is there more than one spirit here with us still?
What Harry's doing here is brilliant, because he's looking away from the Ouija board.
Yeah, you can't see or psychologically know where the planchette is going to move if you can't see where it's going. And that's good, but that also means that there is only one other person who is looking at the board who can see all the letters. And we are not for a second saying that he's purposely pushing any letters to anywhere specific. But the idiomotor effect, of which Dave actually spoke to me about off camera earlier, saying that there have been examples of the idiomotor effect, which is what we're talking about right now, proven on Ouija boards. So Dave believes our argument right now.
Sarah, could you tell me who you're scared of in this building?
M? R?
R.
R?
G.
Mr. G. Or MRG.
The name that everyone is thinking of right now is Charles Griffith, but it is very important to note that Dave, who is on the board with Harry, has seen the show. We are certainly not accusing Dave of fakery here, but the idiomotor effect is absolutely valid.
That was strange. I've never been a fan of any type of pendulum movement, and I was adamant to do it myself so I could verify that I wasn't moving. And it did move on response, but is that my subconscious actually moving that, knowing that I potentially know the answer to the question? I'm not sure, but I can wholeheartedly say that I didn't think I was moving the pendulum when it was coming out the answers with Sarah. Then we go on to the spirit board, and obviously Dave was on there, which I don't know that well, and it seemed when I asked the question, is there anybody that you're scared of in here, Mr. C came through first, or Mr. G, which obviously in my mind then thought Mr. Griffiths. I asked Dave if he'd watched the show, and he said he'd watched a few, but he didn't know that name and asked me who is Charles Griffiths. So the skeptical side of me said maybe he was pushing it, but there was again a point where he'd take his finger off, and if you watch what I'm doing, I'm not even looking at the board at the time, so I don't know what answer is going to come out on there.
Alright, we've moved into the next part of this investigation now, and Harry has joined us here in the control room. Dan and Gibbsy have moved into room 8. We are now focusing purely on old school watch and wait sessions, call out sessions with candles, which I think sometimes is the only thing you need in this building. Sometimes I think we're a bit guilty of using too much equipment, and the guests that come in here are too reliant on equipment. Yeah. Sometimes you just don't need it at all, because this building just produces noises, visuals all of the time.
Jeanette, can you wander around this building freely? Or are you a prisoner of this box? Candle went mad then. You see that?
Did go mad, yeah.
I wonder if they can see that on the live.
Possibly. It's almost like someone was kind of going, you know, against it.
Now usually we would brush this type of thing off, as there could be a number of explanations as to why the candle behaves this way, but it almost happens on demand when Gibbsy asks if Jeanette is a prisoner of the box. Now watch this footage of the room as we speed it up and notice how it doesn't happen any other time. What happens next in room 6 may prove our theory that most of the time all you need to do here is watch and wait.
Oh, could it be a trick of the light? Hello.
Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. So maybe we're not a trick of the light.
Can you do that again for us, please? That was a bit more clearer.
What was that?
That was loud.
Come closer. Come and speak to us.
Oh, they've heard it.
And that, guys, is what's known as a nervous laugh. Come closer. Come and speak to us.
We then join everyone in room 8, and with Neil's religious background, would this have an effect on the Grace doll?
Jeanette, Mammon, Oribas, the 4th. We've been joined by 2 other guests.
Oh, why did you do that?
Gibbsy's just gone full balls deep in on demonic stuff in room 8, and you can see how uncomfortable Neil is straight away. Neil is a very religious man. He has been involved with big dealings with
Yeah, we can't really...
Read the room! Read the room, Gibbsy!
Neil, at any point if you are uncomfortable in that room, please let us know.
Thank you, Danny.
What was that?
That was not nice.
There's more brazen here, is that?
Well, that was not
Nobody's
nice.
talking directly at the
It was over here, wasn't it?
That's that.
Yep.
Just started going.
And it was a bit of a growl, gentlemen. What was that? What was that?
Speak to us.
What was that?
Whoa. Speak to us.
What was
Whoa. Candle's getting crazy again.
The candle certainly seemed to respond. Was the footsteps behind you then?
I thought that, like, yeah. Can you make another noise?
Well, I had that uncrunching ice just at the moment. My throat had been so dry, it's weird.
Really?
I've got some soothers there if you want one. No, I'm like water, thank you. It doesn't feel like a medical condition.
No.
It's very dry.
Throat's dead dry. I'm coming in here, like.
Yeah.
Is there somebody out in there? Somebody upstairs with us? Are you listening? Are all 3 of you downstairs, or is there somebody up here with us?
Guys, we're all in the control room.
There's somebody walking around. Well, there's footsteps in the corridor outside here.
We are hearing all sorts of movement. The guys are hearing footsteps outside. Gibbsy has just actually radioed to see if anybody is walking upstairs.
Yet again, we have backed up eyewitness accounts on camera. And once again, this is a key example of the audio phenomena that occurs here regularly. We all join downstairs in the old brothel as Neil conducts a closing ceremony in what had been another fascinating experiment at My Haunted Hotel.
It felt quite surreal what we were doing, and Neil and Dave were really legitimate with and what they believe in. They weren't trying to sell a narrative to us that wasn't happening. when we were closing down, that's when we started hearing the noises and stuff. And obviously the concern for me is that he cleansed the table. It's not exactly what I want in the building, but very interesting. Maybe on another night things might happen a little bit more, but tonight, sadly, I don't think there's anything of interest.
Tonight we have learnt one thing, that the paranormal doesn't always happen on command. Whether you're doing a Ouija board, whether you believe in that or not, or whether you are sat there with the most high-tech equipment doing this really phenomenal investigation, it doesn't always happen. And that's fine, that's part of our job. Have we learnt that these old techniques can provide evidence? And what we class as evidence is something that we cannot debunk otherwise? No, I wouldn't say we have. And for anyone who would like to know more about Ouija boards and how to really look into them and debunk them, I would suggest going to our VHX subscription service, where we filmed an hour-long episode specifically on it, and I think it's some of the best stuff we've ever filmed.
Tonight has been really enjoyable having Neil on board. He's such a great character, a great guy, and a very religious guy as well. Tonight for me was not about Ouija boards and pendulums and things like that. Tonight for me was about using candlelight and using these old Victorian sort of approaches to trigger something in this building. And the highlights for me were the noises that we heard coming from room 6 and room 8 when the most simplest of sessions were being conducted. Just a watch and wait call out session with candlelight. I did have in the back of my head the entire investigation, will Neil's presence here or these artefacts that he has brought have an effect on what we have housed here in room 8, a deep, unholy item. That didn't really shine through at all. It's been a very quiet night, but very enjoyable, and these experiments are key to the My Haunted project.
23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures.